Vision 2020 of Illinois is a dedicated mission centered on uniting people so that we can transform Illinois from a state of lies to a state of life. And that includes exposing the attack on the innocence of children in the public schools in Illinois. Now, we've all heard about woke curriculums in the schools, but Illinois' District 220, which happens to be one of the highest rated school districts in Illinois, is working really hard to raise the woke bar. In fact, parents that move to the Barrington area do so just to ensure that their children get a high quality public education. Well, these parents have been shocked to find out that over the last year, their children have been exposed to pornography that is too graphic for me to even read to you on YouTube, let alone show you the pictures.
How is it age appropriate to teach children in grades 3 through 5 all about romantic and sexual feelings and masturbation? How is it age appropriate to require 6th through 8th graders to define vagina, anal, and oral sex?
This book is gay goes as far as to say that David from David and Goliath was homosexual. There's a chapter called The Ins and Outs of Gay Sex, where the author talks about blowjobs, handjobs, detailed descriptions, even goes as far as to give instructions on how to clean out your rectum prior to having homosexual anal sex. We have a glory hole. You know what a glory hole is? How about rimming or scat? Apparently scat, I learned this from this book. Scat is apparently eating poop. Scissor sisters? Are you all out of your minds with this?
Last night had to have a conversation with my 10 and 8-year-olds about this filth in our schools. I shouldn't even have to have these conversations about pronouns, about boys giving boys blowjobs. Show me a book in our school that shows a girl giving a boy a blowjob. Is there one? Can anybody stand up and say, yes, we have heterosexual sex books in our schools? You don't.
You know what these books are about. You've seen them. They're way too graphic for kids. At a young age, you can ask any clinical psychologist, kids aren't supposed to be seeing this. How many in this room could stand up right now and tell me you don't want your kids to see this in school?
Now, as you saw, the parents have overwhelmingly expressed their disgust over this material, which is why they're standing up, showing this vile material with signs, expressing their dismay for the push to bring pornography into the school libraries. In fact, a supplemental curriculum also promoting this material has already been shot down due to the dismay of the parents. However, a small number of parents have attempted to assert the insane idea that exposing children to sexually explicit content is somehow an antidote for discrimination against youths who engage in same-sex relationships.
I'm advocating for the right for my children to have access to books they may eventually want to seek out. We should not be spending our time trying to censor, ban, or erase the experiences of an already vulnerable population. Now, in spite of these seemingly spurious claims, not one of these parents was able to report one actual incident of any discrimination at all. Now, even if there had been instances of discrimination, the deranged idea that pornography somehow reduces sexual discrimination is a bit of a stretch. This story gets even more disturbing. Not only have visually pornographic materials been inserted into school libraries, but 4 of the 7 board members have actually stated publicly that they support the dissemination of this material.
As a board member, it's not my job to screen books. There's many, many books in the library. We have qualified staff, qualified librarians.
Very reasonable.
Anybody else have any comments? I guess, Barry, I kind of felt like about this one, like you felt about the other one. I felt it was a good reference, and I thought it would serve more than just the LGBTQ community. It talks a lot about safe sex and what's appropriate and things like that. So I think there was a lot in that book, not just for the LGBTQ community.
Did you hear that? Miss Sandra Fickey Bradford, the board president, thinks that pornographic material is a good reference for young children.
I felt it was a good reference.
But that's not it, because one of the other board members happens to be a licensed pediatrician. Dr. Barry Altschuler, a licensed pediatrician, supports dissemination of pornographic material for young children. Now, he had the audacity to state this right after one of the parents notified him that his own medical board, the American Association of Pediatrics, strongly cautions against exposing children to pornographic content.
American Academy of Pediatrics. This is one of the country's leading authority on pediatric care. This is just one of many credible sources you might want to research on porn exposure versus kids' mental health. Quote, sexual predators have purposefully exposed young children to pornography for the purpose of grooming children for sexual exploitation. Pornography exposure at these young ages often results in anxiety for the child. Children also report feeling of disgust, shock, embarrassment, anger, fear, and sadness after viewing pornography. These children can suffer all of the symptoms of anxiety and depression. They may become obsessed with acting out adult sexual acts that they have seen, and this can be very disruptive and disturbing to the child's peers who witness or are victimized by this behavior. Children under 12 years old who have viewed pornography are statistically more likely to sexually assault their peers. In sum, children exposed to pornographic material are at risk for a broad range of maladaptive behavior and psychopathology.
So if your child, your teenager, has a good friend who's having some gender issues, and it doesn't have to be genderqueer, it could be somebody who is gay or lesbian, a book like this would be very helpful for them so they can support their friends. And I think it's very important that we have these kinds of books available in our library. This is I guess I call it mature themes, but it's not too mature for our high school kids.
And it gets even worse, because after one of the parents read a portion of one of the books in question, Flamer, Dr. Barry Altshuler let us know that this book spoke to him.
So first, in Flamer, there is a part of this book where a bunch of boys masturbate into a bottle, and they say that whichever boy does not ejaculate has to drink the bottle. Now, can any of you look at this crowd and objectively say that that is not obscene?
I have to talk about Flamer just for a second, okay? I am not Filipino. I am not in the closet. I am not Christian. I was never in the Boy Scouts. And this book spoke to me.
Illinois School District 220 has not only allowed visually pornographic material to be placed into the hands of young children, they've also ignored the testimony of parents who have explained the toll that this material has had on the victims, the innocent children, who came to school to learn math, reading, and science skills. The testimonies of these parents are heartbreaking.
First of all, my middle school son has a kid that repeatedly masturbates in the classroom. My daughter, again a middle schooler, had two things happen to her. She was in the girls' bathroom stall going to the bathroom, and 2 stalls over she heard noises. Sounded like boys, she said. So she finished up and started to head to the sink. When her friend walked in and went towards that stall, the door was now open. She saw 2 boys having oral sex in the stall.
In short, the doctor told us our daughter had thoughts of suicide and felt isolated due to the growing new trend of gender identity. She wanted to feel accepted by everyone, but she could not cope with the pressures of hearing about girls experimenting, making out with other girls, and boys performing oral sex on each other in school bathrooms. It was too traumatizing and confusing for her, the doctor explained to us.
Oh, and the other thing that happened, she saw the video that was sent around of the 2 middle schoolers doing oral sex on each other. Why would anyone do that? I can't undo what she saw. It's horrible.
If you're tired of perverted ideologues replacing math with madness in Illinois schools, then you know what to do. Subscribe and share this video, because that is the only way we will be able to give Illinois schools a well-needed hose down.